Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? Great. I'm still going to get set up a little bit here. The draft will not start until 8:30 unless everybody gets here early, and then we could start early. Once everybody is in here, we go over a little bit of refresher on the rules, and I'll tell you a little bit about the league that I'm going to go with. I decided on amount of games and a few other things. So once everybody gets in here, kind of take a little roll call, make sure all the teams or all the people that are drafting for the teams are here, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Everybody having a good night so far? Good. Hope you guys are excited. I'm excited for this. It's an exciting league. I'm going to be using my brand new tablet that I just got for Christmas. It's actually taking a video feed right now. Otherwise, I would show you. Oh, it looks like Gary just got here, so we're waiting on Matt, Steve, Kurt, George, and Ray, I believe. But yeah, I'm excited to do this. Gonna keep track of the league using the Game Changer app on the tablet, so I'll be able to post results and I think even make a an entire website that is viewable online to anybody that wants to check it out. I gotta look into that though. Oh, Matt's in, so that's good. Here's Kurt. Thanks for joining us, Kurt. Yeah, I read online, Matt, that I can do it. Um, oh, here's Steve. Thanks for joining us, Steve. So we got a couple of special guests in here tonight with us doing this draft. Kurt from Kurt Berglund's Baseball World and Steve from After Further Review. They've been great friends to On Deck Baseball, so I definitely appreciate all that they have done for the game. And we're going to welcome them to do this draft with us, which I think is great. But yeah, Matt, I got to look it up online and figure out how to do it, but I'm pretty sure that I can do the entire thing so it's recorded on its own website. Hopefully without having to pay for it, but we'll see what happens. So I believe we're just waiting for Ray and George, I think. Roger just got knocked out because of a storm that's going on near him, so he may communicate with me through uh, Facebook Messenger. I'm just waiting for Ray and George. Oh, and Roger said he just got back in, so he's there. Oh, I see you in the chat, Roger. Thank you. So just waiting for Ray and George. I know that George has confirmed that he will be here, and Ray will definitely show up, so I'm not worried about that. Like I said, once we get everybody in, I'll kind of go over the rules. It should go pretty quick. You're only going to be able to draft from the players that you see on the screen. It is a serpentine draft. Yeah, thank you, Gary. It looks good. I got a nice professional light from my wife. It's definitely a thrown together rig, but it's working. So was anybody surprised that Pete Alonso re-signed with the Mets today? Yeah, they got him a lot cheaper though. I mean, what he originally was going like 158 for 7 years, and he goes what 52 for 2 years or 54 for 2 years. Yeah, it seemed like it was going in that direction. It didn't seem like any other teams were really taking a major interest in him. He's kind of a one-dimensional player, a lot of power, not a lot of speed. Really relies on the guys around him to get the RBIs. So, I mean, I think it's a good move for the Mets. You definitely need somebody like that hidden behind Soto, just like the Yankees had with Judge last season. So it's a good move for the Mets. Roger was knocked off again. Guy of many names. James Anderson. Okay. Oh, here's George. So George is here. I think we're just waiting on Ray. Yeah, I'm not sure who would pay that price other than the big market teams, and I think the Dodgers already satisfied every single position. So I don't know what other money they would want to give out, but I mean they don't have to pay it for another 20 years, so maybe they would sign him. Who knows? Ray's making more logos for you. Well, we need to give him a break so we can come in. We got 6 minutes. We'll get started here probably shortly. Um, Roger is having a little bit of a trouble with his internet, but hoping that's going to come back soon. So I may pull double duty if Roger's internet doesn't uh, work itself out. So Matt, you're going to pick uh, obviously the players from the positions. These are all different piles for different positions. We got the pitchers here. This is starters. This is the relievers. Catchers, first base, second base, third, short, left field, center field, and right field. The if you're not familiar, I know most of you are, but if you're not familiar with On Deck Baseball, each card has primary positions. We are going to uh, be maxed out at 2 per primary position. So if you draft somebody, for instance, Stan Musial has 2 primary positions listed. If you draft somebody like that, just declare which position you would want him to be the starter at. I'll be tracking it, and I'll let you know if you closed out on a particular position. As I mentioned, 2 per max position, but that excludes pitchers. Pitchers, you have to have a minimum of 8. You can go with more than 8, but that will give you less position players. Of course, there are the secondary positions in each player, so you will have backups, but I'll keep track of that, and I'll let you know where you're at. I'm tracking everything on my computer. Looks like Roger is back, so we're just waiting on Ray here. And I'll let you know when you close out a particular position. If you draft your second baseman, I'll let you know that you have drafted 2 primary positions that are second base, and then you can move on to the next. So that kind of makes it a little bit strategy for the draft. So think about that moving forward. We're going to do 2 rounds with these piles facing up. These are all the highest value in each position. It's a serpentine draft, so we'll go 1 through 10, and then back 10 through 1, and then the piles are going to flip. When they flip, it's going to be the lowest valued cards in the same positions. The only pile that's not going to flip is relievers. George pointed it out a couple of days ago in a post. It doesn't make much sense because there's only like 10 relievers anyway. So I'm just going to leave these all forward facing, and it will be the highest values in descending order for that. So Matt, you're not sure what position you want your guy at. I would draft him in the primary position, and then you would still be able to tell me if you wanted him to play, a different position, his secondary position, but definitely be drafting in his primary position. If that makes sense. Hope that makes sense for everybody. Everybody got that? And also what that does for me is that the teams are not going to be too overly powerful. It's going to give a good mix of high quality players as well as some lower value players as backups. So, if a player gets injured for a couple of games, I got to slot in, a weaker valued card, then, that hurts that team a little bit. I am going to be playing an 18 game schedule. That's going to pit every team against every other team twice. It'll be 1 home, 1 away. And then I think I'm going to go with a 4-team playoff for the top 4 teams. I haven't decided on that yet. If I do that, it'll probably be a 3-game series. If I go with the top 2 teams, it'll be a championship series and probably 3, at the most, 5-game series. We'll give it another minute or 2 here, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So Frank had a good question. How many starting pitchers in a rotation? So I think my schedule is going to be play a game, have a day off, play a game, have a day off, play a game, have a day off. And that's going to allow me to have probably a 3-man rotation because I want to get them some, decent amount of starts. So I'm thinking probably 3-man, maybe 4-man at the most, and that'll give a nice pen if you're doing a minimum 8, so you could get 16 position players with 8 pitchers. That'll give me 5 to 4 to 5 guys in the pen. Everybody has to pick at least one of these relievers, so make sure you're doing that. Probably want to grab them. I don't know if you want to grab them really high, but I want to be able to make I want to have a closer on the teams. There'll probably be a pretty good amount of complete games. Although with these bats, it's not going to be one weak lineup in this league. So I don't know if there's going to be a lot of complete games, but I would like to have a closer, so that's where that is. But yeah, probably a 3 to 4-man rotation, leaning towards 3 because I'm going to have a day off in between every single game. All right, so it is 8:31. I'll give it another minute, see if Ray can get in here. I have a feeling he might be having the same issue as Roger with maybe some weather. He has not replied to me on Facebook Messenger either. He has the 7th pick, so it probably will be going quite fast. If I have to, I'll pick for him, and then he can take over from there. All right, so without further ado, how about we kick these things off? Matt, you have the first pick. Who would you like to pick number 1 overall in the On Deck Baseball Legends League draft? All right, looks like the Sultan of SWAT is going to be picked. Right fielder, he is the first one overall. I don't think there was any doubt about that. Dynamo and George, you are up next. I know it's a tough decision with all these guys on the board. Just so everybody knows, Larry Walker was the next one to show up in the pile for right fielders. So he's available, and it looks like Rogers Hornsby is going to be going to the Dynamo. Good pick there, George. All right, so that is going to be now Armada and Frank with 3rd overall. Joe DiMaggio is going to be going 3rd overall, center fielder, 102-point value, another great pick. And that's going to go to Leviathan and Roger for pick number 4. Willie Wells. Very nice. Wells is a shortstop, 96 value. Great pick. And that's going to bring up Oracles and Kurt. Josh Gibson. I had a feeling Josh Gibson was going to be going to the Oracles. So Josh Gibson, 96-point value, best catcher in the sets, going to Oracles. And that's going to bring up John and the Empire. So we got Ivan Rodriguez now showing, Turkey Stearns now showing, Barry Larkin now on the top of the pile as well as Nap Lajoie. The big train, our first pitcher in the draft, Walter Johnson. He will be going to the Empires. All right, so this is Ray's pick for the Aces. I'm just going to scroll through and see if he gave me any names before that he might want to pick. I don't see any, so I know he's a big Cardinal fan. I hope he's okay with this pick. I'm going to pick Stan Musial, and I'm going to declare him for left field. So that is going to go Stan Musial to the Aces, and that's going to bring up Steve with the Blue Sox. This will be the 8th overall pick. Building up the middle with Barry Larkin. Not a bad pick. Look at solid defense. Could play second and as well as short, his primary position, 4-4. So that's pretty good. That's going to be bringing it to my pick now. You know, I probably should have thought about this harder going in, but now that I see these players opening up, I think I'm going to go with Page. I'm going with Satchel Paige, 9th overall. So that's going to be bringing it to Gary. Roger, it's going to be 2 full rounds before I flip any of the piles, not after 2 picks in the same position. So once we do the Serpentine to get back around to the 3rd pick for team number 1, then I'll flip the pile. So 2 full rounds in with the high value cards. Everybody's going to have 2 picks. All right, looks like Gehrig is going to be going to Gary, and Gary, you get the 11th pick as well. No problem, Roger. And Wagner. And Gary, don't you have somebody that works for you or goes to school at your school that is a relative of Honus Wagner? Oh, yeah, that's you, James Anderson. Okay, I knew I recognized your name from somewhere. All right, so it's my pick now. I know this is going to seem really odd, but I feel like there's a lot of great position players, and I want to build a strong rotation. So I'm going Satchel Paige as my number 1, and Greg Maddux as my number 2. I don't think you can go wrong there. So Maddux joining Paige on the defenders. And that is going to bring it back to you, Steve. Roger, how do you feel about me taking 2 pitchers? I know we talked a little bit about this last night. Ajaway going to the Blue Sox, number 13 pick, and it's a 5 defender at second base. Pretty solid double play team there. Good way to go there, Steve. And that is going to bring it to Ray's pick again. He still has not gotten back to me, so I'll pick for him. I think I'm going to go with Turkey Stearns for center field. And that is going to bring it to the Empires and John again. Say hey, kid. I had a feeling as soon as I removed Turkey Stearns, I thought he was going to show up. All right, so Willie Mays is joining Walter Johnson over on the Empires. And that is going to bring it over and back to Kurt and the Oracles. Grover Cleveland Alexander is going to be joining Josh Gibson over on the Oracles. Another solid pitcher. And we are with Roger and the 17th overall pick with the Leviathan. Jackie Robinson, second base. So he's declaring second base. He'll play a little bit of third too. But Jackie Robinson will be going as a second baseman to Leviathan. And that is going to move it along to Frank and the Armada. So who's going to join Joe DiMaggio over in the Armada with a bunch of pirates drinking a latte? Ed Walsh. See, the thing I like about this is he has a 5-5, and I will be playing with splits. So that's a big deal right there. He's going to be joining Joey D. Good pick. And that will bring us to George and Dynamo for the 19th pick. So George, who's going to be joining Rogers Hornsby, which I still really like that pick. I think that's a fantastic pick. Left arm of God, you can't go wrong with Sandy Koufax. Certainly cannot. So Sandy Koufax joining Dynamo. As a starting pitcher. And that is going to bring us back to Matt and the Dragons. Seems everybody has taken the players Matt wanted. Cy Young, yeah, can't go wrong with that. All right, so Matt, before you pick your next player, this is where it's going to get interesting. Let me just jot that down. All of these piles are now going to switch except for the reliever. I have a feeling you might see a lot of relievers go in this round. Keep in mind, all these guys are Hall of Famers, so when you look at their stats, and there's some good ones. I mean, Harmon Killable just popped up there. So these are not poor players by any means, just in comparison to other Hall of Famers. Richie Ashburn. Now you can pick these as your backups. You can pick them as starters. It doesn't matter, but they will take your spots for primary position when you're looking at the max 2. Nobody went with A-Rod. A-Rod's still on the pile for starting third baseman. All right, so Matt, who is your next pick? Pick 21 overall. Everybody take a good look. We got some good players here. Some interesting players. It's funny to see that some of these guys are the lowest value of their positions. Blake Wilhelm, best reliever in the set. All right, that's going to bring up to George and Dynamo with the next pick. Some Yankees on the top of these piles, huh? Richie Ashburn, center fielder. Going to the Dynamo. That's going to be, we're going to Armada and Frank. Oh, I was hoping Rivera was going to stick around. Mariano Rivera going to the Armada. Roger, you're up next with the Leviathan. Hoffman. Solid pick there. Trevor Hoffman. And now we'll go to Kurt with the Oracles. Speaking of Hoffman, just related, I'm so glad Wagner got into the Hall of Fame. I really thought he deserved to get in. I know they only pitch one inning at a time, but I think closers have definitely earned a spot in this game, especially with today's game, going heavy relief. But Wagner did it for so long at such a high level, he definitely deserved to get in. So, Kurt, who we have joining Josh Gibson and Alexander over on the Oracles? So next pick for the Oracles, Kurt, who do you have? All right, Kurt's having some issues with his chat feed, but he just sent me a message on Facebook Messenger. He's going to be going with Killebrew for the Oracles. All right, so that is going to be going to the Empires and John. John is going with Brooks Robinson, third base. All right, and that is going to be Ray's pick. I still haven't heard from Ray, so he's got a left fielder and a center fielder right now. Not really sure who he's. Well, you know what? The Cardinal is right there, so I'm going to go with Sutter. Sutter is going to be his closer for the Aces. And that is going to go over to the Blue Sox and Steve. Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to go with Eckersley. I mean, 0.79 whip, 1.90 ERA. That's over 5-year peak average. That's incredible. Incredible. So Eck goes to the Blue Sox, and that is going to bring it over to me. And I don't know if anybody's going to be too surprised with this pick. I feel like there'll still be closers there when it gets to my turn. So I'm going to get Jeter. So Jeter going to the Defenders at the shortstop position. Is anybody too surprised with that? I mean, it's going to be a backup. All right, Gary. You get the next two picks, bud. Who do you want to join the captains? Vince Coleman. All right. Which position do you want him in? Left field or center field? Ah, okay, you put left field. I had it cut off. No surprise, huh, guys? Not that shocked, Steve. Yeah, no. And then, of course, Rizzuto ends up right behind him in the pile. And also, you have Rolf. I mean, these are backups, so, you know, might as well have them. Gary, you get another pick. Who's going to be your second pick on the lower valued cards here? Red Rolf, third base. I mean, not bad. 307 hitter. He's a good defender. Got a pretty good arm. Good batting attributes there. So, yeah. Can't really go too wrong with that. All right, that's going to bring it back to me. So the same closer is there when I picked Jeter, so I'm going to go ahead and pick him up, Quisenberry. That's going to bring it back to you, Steve, with the 33rd overall pick. Ralph does well for you, Gary? Yeah. I mean, he's a good player. Good batting. All right, so going with the Goose. Heckin' Goose, you're going to have quite the pen. All right. So Gossage is joining Eckersley over on the Blue Sox. That's going to go over to Ray now with the 34th pick. Let me just make sure that I haven't heard from him. I have not. So, here he has closer in the outfield. I'm going to go with Tommy for him at first base. And that's going to go back to you, John, and the Empires. Billy Wagner. Right. I mean, we were talking about him earlier, but .90 whip, 5-year peak average 2.14, 84 Ks against 18 walks. I mean, come on. All right, so Wagner goes 35th overall. The Empires. Kurt, you are up with the Oracles, sir. Steve, I'm surprised you don't have any Red Sox on your team yet. Might be because they haven't shown up in the piles yet. So, Pie Trainer going to the Oracles, third baseman. And that is going to send it over to Roger and the Leviathan. 37th overall pick. Ed Roush. Going to be playing left field. Solid pick for a backup if that's where he's going to go. Frank and the Armada, you're up with a 38th pick overall. Already sporting 2 Yankees there. Judy Johnson going third baseman, 304, 350 on base percentage. Good defender. Great Negro Leagues player. And that is going to bring it to George and the Dynamo. With the 39th overall pick. 2 more picks This one and the next one by Matt, and we'll be flipping the piles back over again. Raleigh Fingers. Right, he's going to be going to Dynamo. Solid card. Can't go wrong. Can't really go wrong with any of these. I keep saying that, but I mean, really, can you go wrong with any of these players? All right, Matt, you get one pick here, and then I flip the cards. Who are you looking at? Big Mac. So Matt's team obviously is going to be full of roids. So Big Mac will be going to the Dragons. I gotta be honest, I probably would have picked him if he was still there. All right, so I'm flipping them back over now. Crime Dog was next on that pile. Ooh, some good players coming up here. All right, Matt, you are next with the next pick, your 41st overall. I don't know, you already got Big Mac. You might as well have A-Rod join him. But, you know, you do what you want to do. Joe Morgan. Yeah, that's better pick probably. All right, so Joe Morgan going to the Dragons. That's going to bring it back to Dynamo and George with the 42nd overall. Who'd that open up? Oh, that opened up Eddie Collins. That's a good player. Al Simmons, is that who you're getting? That's right. Bucketfoot was Al Simmons, right? Good player, 96 overall. He is a 5'5", great defender. And that's going to be Frank and the Armada. Come on, Frank. Who's going to be taking A-Rod? You going to do it? Once A-Rod is taken, I have a feeling all the third basemen are going to probably go. Nobody wants A-Rod. I didn't even want him when he was on the Yankees. Ted Williams. I am sure Steve is disappointed at that one. So Ted Williams is going to Frank and the Armada. And that's going to bring up Leviathan and Roger. All right, Roger, you can go ahead and make your point, your pick. But if everybody agrees with Steve, I will go ahead and make that call and remove A-Rod from the pile. Because right now he's holding up third baseman. Oscar Charleston is going to be going to Leviathan. Great pick. All right, Kurt, you are up with the Oracles. So I have 1, 2, 3 yays for removing Alex Rodriguez from the pile. Give me 2 more and I'll take him off of there. Somebody may want him. I don't know. And it looks like Kurt's going to take A-Rod. Everybody needs a little bit of love. I mean, come on. So, Kurt, that is going to close out your third baseman. So you can't pick any more third baseman after taking A-Rod. We all, Kurt, take it. Yeah, I was just going to say, we all commend you for taking one for the team. I certainly appreciate it. That's going to bring it to the Empires and John with the next pick, the 46th overall. Kurt, we all thank you for your sacrifice. Buck Leonard. Great pick. 381 average over 5-year. Actually, the Negro League players are 162 game-based average. So 381, 37 home runs, 485 on-base percentage. So fantastic card. And that is going to bring it to Ray with the aces. I'm just going to check one more time to make sure that I have not heard from him. And Steve, let me know. The focus went out. Let me try and get it. Is that a little better? Yeah, that looks better. We have Barry Bonds next up in the pile. I don't think I want to take Bonds out, though. All right, so I'm going to give Ray Larry Walker because he did play for the Cardinals. So he's going to be the right fielder for Ray. Ray's got a very modern team here. And that is going to bring it to the Blue Sox and Steve. Yeah, thanks for letting me know, Steve. It's like I said, still learning all of this. Using a tablet for my camera, so. Steve's Blue Sox up with the 48th pick overall. Still no Red Sox on the board there, though. All right, Bonds is going to the Blue Sox. All right, and that is going to go over to my pick. I do need a catcher. No, I got to get some power and stuff, though, too. I am going to go with, I believe, Chuck Klein for my right fielder. Going to the Defenders, Chuck Klein. And that is going to bring it to Gary and the captains for the next two. So it looks like Collins is going to be going first. Second base. And another pick. And there's Ray. Ray joins us. Ray, I got a pretty good team going for you. I think, anyway. I hope you'll agree. But I'll let you take it over as soon as we get there. So, Yvonne Rodriguez is going to be going at the catcher position to the captains. That's going to bring it back to me. You know something? I like catchers. I don't think that's any secret. I'm going to go with Freehand. And as soon as I picked that up, I saw Bill Dickey. But yeah, I already said it. I'm going to take Bill Freehand for my catcher. Freehand was a fantastic player. I don't think he gets enough credit. I think he could be a Hall of Famer. But he's not. So, all right. So, Steve and the Blue Sox, you are up with the next pick, 53. Ray, I'm going to show you who you have, or I'll tell you who you have. You have Musial in left, Turkey Stearns in center. Bruce Sutter is your closer, so you don't need another closer. I got Jim Thome as possibly a backup first baseman, could be your starter. And I got you Larry Walker as your right fielder. Okay, so Leon Day is going to be going to the Blue Sox. And Ray, that is going to be your pick now. I can show you on camera real quick who you have. This is your team right here. You got Musial in left, Stearns in center, Sutter, closer, Thome at first, Larry Walker in right. So you have the next pick with the Aces. All right, Newhouser going to be going to the Aces. An ace for the Aces. And that is going to go now to John and the Empires. When we get back through to the Dragons on this round of picks, the piles are going to flip over once again. And the Rocket is going to be going to the Empires. So Kleiman's going to the Empires. Starting pitcher. And Kurt, you're next up with the Oracles. You currently have third base closed out, so you just can't pick a third baseman. And then Kurt's sending me a message. Looks like Kurt's going to go with Gehringer, second base. Charlie Gehringer. And that is going to bring us to Leviathan and Roger. Hank Greenberg, solid first baseman. And that will be going now to George, I believe. Oh no, sorry, Frank. Frank in the Armada, next pick, 58th pick overall. Just picked Ted Williams, I'm sure to Steve's dismay. Frank's building a good outfield here. Williams in the left, DiMaggio in center. Jennings, shortstop. And now we go to Dynamo and George. With the 59th pick overall, took Al Simmons, left field, last pick. He's got a good outfield too, even with Ashburn most likely ended up being a backup. Still pretty solid. Bill Dickey, catcher, and Barris, a couple of great Yankee catchers back to back there. All right, so Matt, you get the next pick, and then we're going to flip these cards back over. So Matt, make a wise pick here, because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of players that you might not have heard of on the next round. Yeah, I know. Yogi Berra, catcher. One of my favorites. All right, so we're flipping. Gabby Hartnett showing up as a catcher position on the other high value side. So we got the Crime Dog coming up. Freddie Lidstrom was a good player. He's third base. Lloyd Wayner. All right. So we got some pretty good players here. Oh, yeah. Yogi will persuade you. All right, so Matt, who is your next pick? These are the low value cards now. Some pretty good players in here, though. Lee Smith. I mean, he is the highest valued card facing up at that juncture in time. And that's going to go back to you, Dynamo and George. Dynamo right now standing at Hornsby, Koufax, Richie Ashburn, Raleigh Fingers, Al Simmons, and Bill Dickey. So solid players right there. And looking for the 62nd pick overall. Gets a little harder with these guys. Not sure if you want them as starters, if they're going to be backups. But the point values are getting a little higher as we get further into these piles, so that's good to see. Ray Schalk. All right, so we got a very good defensive catcher. 263 over a 5-year average, so definitely known more for defense there. And that is going to close out your catchers, George, as you now have your starter and your backup. And Frank and the Armada, you are next up, sir. First of 3 Hall of Famers from near my father. Who are the other 2 Hall of Famers, George? Just curious. Oh, I was going to pick Munson. All right. Frank is picking up Thurman Munson, catcher. That's right. And Leviathan and Roger, you're next up. Jim Bottomley and Red Ruffin, great players. What area is that? It's okay, Frank. Plenty of other catchers in there. Rogers going with Freddie Lindstrom, third baseman, solid defender, good hitter, 337 average over 5 years. And Kurt, you're now up with the Oracles. Kincaid, Illinois. Oh, nice. I didn't know that there were 3 Hall of Famers from that area. That's awesome. So, Kurt, just as a reminder, you have third base closed out, but every other position is currently open for you to pick. And Kurt is going to take Teak. And that is our last reliever to go. So he will be going to the Oracles. And now we head over to John and the Empires for the 66th pick overall. All right, I'm good with nicknames, so you're going to have to remind me who Little Poison is. I'm looking at him right now, and I tried to figure it out. Is it Wayner? Okay, Wayner. I got it right. I thought it was him, I just wasn't sure. So Lloyd Wayner, center field, going to the Empires. And that does close you out for center field. And Ray, you are next up with the Aces. Now, Ray, just as a reminder, you can only take 2 of each primary position. All right, so you're taking Brock. That is going to close you out on left field since you have Musial already. So Brock is going to the Aces. And that's going to go to Steve and the Blue Sox for pick number 68. Yeah, Ray, you had Musial, and he could play both left field and right field, but I declared him for left field when I took him for you. So. Freddie Lynn. I was wondering when you were going to get a Red Sox. You got a good one. So Fred Lynn is going to the Blue Sox, wearing a sock of a different color now. Center fielder. And that's going to bring it to me. I think I am going to go with power. And I'm going to go with Willie Stargell, left field. And that is going to bring it to the captains and Gary. Crime Dog going to the captains. Gary, you get another pick on this batch. And that does close you out for first baseman, Gary. Bob Boone closing out catchers also. All right. So was he the best Boone of the bunch? Aaron Boone, not a great player. I don't know how good of a manager he is either. Red Boone was a pretty good player, but Bob Boone, very, very good. All right, so for me, wow, Willie McCovey showing up in there too. What do I have? Left field, so first base. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with McCovey. Oh, look, it just popped up, Steve. Look at that. All right, so Steve. Ray Boone? Yeah, you think Ray Boone was better than Bob Boone? Yeah, he was good. Steve, you are up, sir, with the 73rd pick. And I'm curious to see if you're going to take who I just opened up there for you. Yeah, I kind of figured that was going to be the case. So David Ortiz going to the Blue Sox. Matt wanted him. I don't think he would have reached your pick, Matt. I'm pretty sure that was a given that he would have been picked at some point. All right, so Ray, you are now up. Hugh Duffy, good center fielder, old timer, 357 average. He's a 5'4", lefties versus and righty versus, so good pick there. Center fielder. And that closes you out for center field as well, right? And Empires are now up with the 75th pick overall. You do have center field closed out, but everything else is open. The Scooter goes, pick number 75, Phil Rizzuto. All right. right, so we're going to head over now to Kurt again with the Oracles. Last pick was Teak. Holy cow is right. You know, he's a good shortstop. I mean, I don't think he'll be a starter, but 4 defense, 4 speed, you know, for these players, an average player, maybe even below average, but, you know. And Red Faber is going to be going to the Oracles. That's going to bring it back to Roger and Leviathan with the 77th pick overall. Kirby Puckett. Great player. Great person. Lost way too early. Great card. So Kirby Puckett. And that is going to close out center field for you, sir. And that's going to go back to Frank and the Armada. You don't have any positions closed out yet. Bell. Do you mean George Kell? Third base? Okay, Kell. So George Kell is going to the Armada. And that will close out third base for you. Pretty good tandem of third baseman there. Judy Johnson and George Kell. And George and Dynamo, you are up next. You have catchers closed out, but everything else still open. Fred Clark, left fielder. I gotta admit, I didn't really know too much about him until I made the, I believe, the 1909 Pirates. But great player, early player for sure. So Clark, left fielder. And that's going to close out your left field. And Matt, you're going to get one pick here, and then we're going to flip back over. So who is your pick here? You don't have any positions closed out yet, so you can pick any position. Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to be the case. Super utility player here. Plays all outfield and pretty much all infield. So Pete Rose is going to be going to the Dragons. I did have him. He played a majority of his career there. Most positions anyway. So that's going to go to left field for you. And we're going to flip back over now before Matt takes his next pick. All right, so Matt, your next pick at the high value cards now. Got some great players there. See a lot of players I'm going to want, but most likely will not be there by the time my pick comes around. So Matt, who are you thinking? Brown. Yep. Good pick. I was going to pick him next. Solid pick there. And he goes in as a center fielder for you. And George, you're next up with the Dynamo. 82nd pick overall. And yeah. Yeah. That's definitely who I was going to be going for. Mantle goes to the Dynamo. And that will close out your center fielders. Richie Ashburn to back up to Mickey Mantle. That's pretty good compliment there. All right, so Frank, the Armada, you are up next, sir. You have third base closed out. It looks like the only positions you don't have starters in are first, second, and right. And it looks like you just got your starting second baseman, Roberto Alomar. Good defender, great against right-handed pitchers. All right, and that is going to go to Roger and Leviathan. Looks like you're just looking for starters in catcher and right. And of course, you have a couple of lower valued cards for certain positions, but you could definitely work with that. Center field is closed out for you. Gabby Hartnett going 84th overall to Leviathan. I like that pick. That's a very good pick. Kurt, you're next up with the Oracles. Third base is closed out for you. You have open spots completely for short. Left, you don't have any outfielders yet. Kurt's going to go with Epi Rixey. Solid pitcher. He's putting together a pitching staff, I'll tell you what. All right, so now we're going to move on to John and the Empires. You have shortstop. I'm sorry, not shortstop. You have center field closed out. You don't have any catchers or second baseman, left field or right fielders yet, and you have three pitchers. One of those is a closer, Billy Wagner. Frankie Fresh, second baseman. Solid numbers, 336. All right. So that is going to be your starting second baseman, I'm assuming. We're going to head over now to Ray and the Aces. Ray, you are closed out on the left and closed out on center field. You don't have a catcher or second base, shortstop, or third base yet. Mordecai Brown. I had a feeling that he might be the next. Oh, look who just showed up there. So Brown going to the Aces. And And Steve with the Blue Sox, you're up next with the 88th pick overall. Well, yeah, you got some solid picks here. Settle for Mathewson. I don't think those words have ever been mentioned before. So Steve is going to settle for Christy Mathewson. I was hoping somebody else would show up, but let's see. For me, I need, something I think I'm going to settle. Well, then I'll need a leadoff man if I take Snyder. I guess I'm going to go with Snyder. I'm going to round out my outfield here and take Duke. So, Gary, you are up with 2 picks, sir. Doc White, starting pitcher. That is your first pitcher. Old Haas, who is meant to be. Why don't you share with them the story on that? But yeah, Old Haas going to the Captains. So that starts your rotation there because you didn't have any pitchers before that. And now my next pick is going to be, I'm going to need a leadoff man, so I'm going to take Biggio. Craig Biggio. So, Steve, you are now up. As I got my starting second baseman. He's got the pine tar ready. He's picking up Brett. Check out the pine tar on the bat. It's there. So George Brett going to the Blue Sox. That is your first third baseman, so most likely your starter. And Ray, you are up with the 94th pick overall, sir. Your 10th pick of the draft. Still in need of a catcher, second base, shortstop, and third. Keep in mind that these piles are going to flip over at the end of this round. Chipper, good pick. Chipper Jones, switch hitter. 4s across the board for batting, 320 average, and 36 home runs across 5 consecutive seasons. Not bad at all. And that's going to go to the Empires with the 95th overall pick. You have center field closed out, looking for a left fielder, right fielder, catcher, or some more additional pitching. So, John, who's going to be joining the Empires? Eddie Plank, starting pitcher. All right, now we're going to Kurt and the Oracles. He's communicating through his Facebook Messenger with me. He's dealing with some weather just like a lot of people out there at the moment. So, Kurt, You have the next pick. You have third base closed out. You have 4 pitchers already. You need a shortstop, and you don't have any outfielders yet. Tris Speaker is going to the Oracles, center field. And we go to Leviathan and Roger with the 97th pick overall. Roger, your center fielders are closed out. You have pretty much all of your primary positions except for right field. And going with Bob Feller. I can't really argue that pick at all. A little weaker against lefties, but with a league that's going to have a lot of righties, you can't really go wrong there. So Bob Feller going to Leviathan. That is your second pitcher. Your first starter, though. And Frank and the Armada, you're up. You closed out third base already. You're looking for a first baseman, a right fielder, and some additional pitching. You have 2 so far. And it looks like you have a third with Whitey Ford. All right, so that's going to go now to Dynamo and George with the 99th overall pick. You have left field closed out, catcher closed out, center field closed out, looking for a first base, shortstop, third base, or a right fielder. And, of course, you have plenty of spots open for pitchers. Bob Gibson. Yep, I had a feeling he'd go next. So Gibson going to Dynamo, joining Mickey Mantle over there. And Matt, you are up, sir. You don't have any positions closed out. You are looking for a shortstop or third base, and then, of course, some additional pitching. Second base is getting kind of thin, although you already have a second baseman. Once the top value cards run out, the lower values are going to be staying face up. So that may throw a wrench into some team building. Okay, Ward Perry going to the Dragons. 93 overall for Perry. All right, and we are going to flip these stacks again. Ooh, Stever's showing up. Sorry, Seaver, not Stever. All right. So, Matt, who is your next pick? 101 overall. You know, it's funny, the piles don't look that crooked in person, but they look a lot more crooked on camera. So, Matt, you don't have any positions closed out. Still need a shortstop and a third baseman. Earl Averill going, center field. Solid pick, and that is going to close out your center fielders. And George and the Dynamo, you are up next. You have closed out catcher, left, and center. Open completely is first, short, and third, and right. And of course, looking for some pitchers. Values are getting a little higher on this end, so that's kind of cool to see. Players are getting better. Now, just for conversation's sake, Bo Jackson on the top of this pile. Is he the best athlete ever? Just pure athlete for pro sports? What do you think? Jim O'Rourke is going to be going to the Dynamo. He's going to be right field. And that's going to go to Frank and the Armada. Frank, you have third base closed out. Everything else you can pick. And you're looking for first and right field starters. Bo is top 10 for sure. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know who else I'd put in the conversation. Harold Baines going to right field. I love that uniform. I don't know. Is that a favorite uniform out there? I don't know. I love that one. So Baines, right field. Roger with the Leviathan, you are up with 104th overall. You like the shorts? What was the shorts? That was what, 77? 1977? Or was it 72? 72 was a red White Sox uniforms, wasn't it? Roger, you have closed out center field. But everything else is open for picks. Sam Rice going to Leviathan, right field. It was a good pick. Yeah, 77 I thought was the shorts. Because I made that team, but I decided not to do the shorts. I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but I couldn't produce cards with baseball players in shorts. I found it difficult to do. All right, Kurt, you are up, sir, with the 105th pick overall. He's not currently active on Facebook Messenger. I'm not sure if he has a signal right now. I'll give it a minute or two. If he doesn't pick within the next couple of minutes, I'll pick for him. So George made a good point. He did get a third catcher because O'Rourke, even though he was in the right field pile, his secondary position is catcher. So that's a good position to have. Kurt is there, and it's White Hoyt is going to be his pick. Starting pitcher. So yeah, definitely start looking at secondary positions. It may pay off for you. And that's going to bring the 106th pick to Empire and John. John, do you go by John? Because I see it says Jack on YouTube, but it says John when I see you on Facebook. So if you'd rather be called Jack, let me know. But anyway, you have center field closed out. You have no catcher, left fielder, or right fielder. Tony Perez. All right, so that is going to close out your first baseman, as Tony Perez will join the others in the Empire. And Ray, you are up with the Aces. Uh-oh. So I'm guessing we're going with Reggie. And now we'll close out your right fielders. Reggie Jackson. think he doesn't need any introduction. Everybody knows Reggie. And Steve, the Blue Sox are up next. As Ray bites down on his Reggie bar. Steve is up, and you are not closed out on any position. You are still looking for a catcher or a right fielder. Ted Simmons going to the Blue Sox, catcher position. That's going to bring it to me. I'm going to get him just because my best friend is a huge Bo Jackson fan, so I'm going to pick up Bo. So, Bo Jackson going to the defenders. Oh, and I am going to declare him for left field, so he will take up and close out my left fielders. And Gary, you are up, sir, with 2 picks. Manny Ramirez going to the captain's left field. That's going to close out your left fielders. So you got 1 more pick there. And Sammy in right. That is a very entertaining outfield right there. All right, I am looking at... You know what? I grew up listening to Ralph Kiner because the Mets were always on TV in my house. So I am going to pick him, but I'm going to declare him in right, and that is going to close out my right fielders. So Steve, that's going to bring you up now, sir. Your last pick was Simmons, a catcher. You had Brett at third base before that. You were just looking for a starting right fielder. And Elmer Flick is going to be going to the Blue Sox for right field. It is getting a little tougher. These cards are going to flip again, though. So you'll get to see some of the higher values. Just because you picked Flick in right doesn't mean he needs to be your starter, because you still have another right fielder you can pick. So, Ray, you are next up with the 114th pick overall. You're closed out on left field and center field. You do need a catcher, second base, and shortstop. Jesse Haynes. All right. He is going to the Aces starting pitcher. And John, you're next up with the Empires. You are closed out on center field and first base. You have 4 pitchers, still looking for a catcher left and right. Biz Mackey. I think that's a great pick. Especially since I don't have a catcher yet. But I think that's a good pick. I like some Biz Mackey. All right, that's going to go to Kurt and the Oracles. Kurt, you closed out third base. You have 5 pitchers. You still have no shortstop, left field, or right field. Kurt's going to go with Joe Tinker, shortstop. What was that saying? I mean, I know it's Tinker's to Everest to Chance, but the sad lexicon is what that was called, I believe. All right, so it's going to be Leviathan and Roger with the 117th pick overall. You're closed out on center field. You looks like you have most of the positions covered. Just 2 pitchers. Burley Grimes. All right. Roger's starting to get his rotation in order. And I gotta say, you're building quite the offense. All right, so Frank and the Armada, you're up next. You have third base closed out. You have 3 pitchers. You have no first baseman yet. Baines was your last pick in those sharp White Sox uniforms. And it looks like Beckley for first base is going to be taken. 318 average. Another turn of the century player. As your first baseman selected. George and the Dynamo, you're up next with the 119th overall. You have closed out left field and center field, closed out catcher. You have no first base, shortstop, or third base. Heine Zimmerman, here is your first third baseman. 74 points overall, 317 average. I don't remember who it was, but somebody pointed out that there were a lot of players named Heine in these 2 sets. I'm not sure who that was, but yeah, there are 2 or 3 at least, I know. All right, Matt. Your last pick on this side of the piles, and then we flip them back over. I don't know, there's some better players showing up here. Heine Biter? Was that a player? I'm not familiar with that one. Gil Hodges. All right. And that is going to close out your first baseman, Matt. And we're going to flip these players back over. Oh, some good pitchers I have a feeling are going to start showing up here. Hey, Eddie Murray making the other side. All right, Matt. you are up. You have first base closed out, center field closed out, and you have 5 pitchers. So who's going to be your next pick on the high value side? Seaver. Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to go with Seaver. That's what I would have done. So Tom Seaver, starting pitcher, gone. And George Dynamo, you are up. Left field, center field, and catcher closed out. So you're still looking for a starting first baseman or shortstop. A couple of good ones on the top of the piles there. Arky Vaughn. Good speed, great batter, solid defender. I like it. That's a good pick. And Frank, you are now up with the Armada and 120. You have closed out third base, but you haven't closed out any other positions. However, you have picked one in each. So Jim Bunning, starting pitcher, going to the Armada. And Roger with the Leviathan, you are up. You have center field closed out. You've picked every other position. You have 3 pitchers. So teams are starting to fill out now. It's just a matter of who's going to show up in these piles. Fernando, even looking up to the sky while he's throwing the ball. So Fernando Valenzuela is going to the Leviathan. And Kurt, you are now up with the Oracles. You have third base closed out, still looking for a left fielder and a right fielder. Ken Williams, left field, going to the Oracles. And that's going to bring up John and the Empires with the 126th overall. You have first base closed out and center field closed out. You're still looking for a left fielder and a right fielder. So a couple of good ones there, if you're looking for that. Yep, I had a feeling you would. You can pick either left or right with him. Which one do you want to declare him at? Well, I know outfield. Left. Okay, gotcha. All right, Ray with the Aces. You are 127th pick overall. You are closed out on left and center. Still looking for a catcher, a second base, and a shortstop. Rod Carew. And that's a good pick because that pile is going to turn over now to just low values, even though the low values are getting higher. But it was good timing on the Carew pick. So Steve, with the Blue Sox, you are now up as I flip second baseman over. And they will stay flipped over now. Not as many second basemen in the Hall of Fame as the other positions. Found that out while making these sets. Hill to round out the rotation. I like it. I need a third baseman, so I'm going Schmidt. And that's going to bring up Gary and the captains with 2 picks. Gary, you're looking for a center fielder. You don't have any of those picked. You are closed out on catcher first and left. And, of course, you could take a bunch of pitchers. So 2 picks for the captains here. Juan Marichal. And who's going to be the 131st pick overall for you, Gary? Ed Delhunty. All right. Good pick there. And now it's going to be my pick, and I am going to go with Dazzy Vance, trying to round out my rotation. That's going to bring you up, Steve, with the Blue Sox. You have all positions open. You have not closed out any yet. Steve Carlton. Yeah, I saw him pop up when I took Vance. Yeah, you gotta have lefty in the rotation, I feel like. All right, Ray and the Aces. You're still looking for a catcher and a shortstop. These guys are gonna flip back over after this round, so pick wisely. Yeah, I had a feeling you would go with Davis, a shortstop, great defender, and a very solid batter. So you just picked a very good up the middle infield with Carew and Davis. All right, John with the Empires, you're up next. You closed out center field and closed out first base, so you have right field completely open. And you can still pick catcher, second, short, all that. And Harry Hillman, going to be your right fielder, 379 overall for 5 consecutive years. That is not bad at all. And we're going to bring it over to Kurt and the Oracles. Kurt, you got third base closed out, still looking for a right fielder. I agree, Ray. These are going to be some fun teams putting together, and I like it that they're going to be flipping over, and the lower value cards are getting higher, so they are going to have some better backups, but it's going to be a great mix of players. Alan Trammell, is going to be going to the Oracles. That's going to close out shortstop for you, Kurt. And Roger and the Leviathan up next. Roger, you have 7 center field closed out, but you can pick all the others you have open as well as pitching. Frank Robinson. Yep, it'd be great. Frank Robinson. Do you guys like it that I have him in the Reds? Because I got him in the Orioles too, but I couldn't figure out which way I wanted to put him in this set. I figure you can't go wrong with either, but you did win an MVP with both. So that does close out right field for you, Roger. Frank, you are next up with the Armada. Pick 138. You have third base closed out. Everything else you have available to pick. Yep, Hammer and Hank just had his birthday just passed, right? So that'll close you out on right field. George and the Dynamo, you are up next. You're closed out on left, center, and catcher. You do not have a first baseman yet. Mel Ott. Solid pick. Let's see. So Ott going to the Dynamo with 139th overall. And that's going to close out your right fielders. Matt, you have 1 pick, and then we're flipping the piles back over. You are closed out on center field and first base. You still need a shortstop and a third baseman. Beltre. Yeah, I would probably pick him too if I was in your position. Needing a third baseman. He's best one left. All right, so we're flipping these piles back over. It's going to start getting interesting here to see what pitchers show up. Second basemans are not getting flipped anymore. They're stuck on the low value side. And Matt, you are up again. And you are still in need of a shortstop. But you can pick anything. Shortstops will still be around. Wallace. Bobby Wallace going to be one of your first shortstops. Player that I was not familiar with at all. All right, so Dynamo and George, you're up next. You're still in need of a first baseman. You have catcher closed out, left field closed out, center field closed out, right field closed out. So your outfielders are closed out. And of course, you could still pick some pitchers. So who's going to be joining the Dynamo? Yes, Matt, that is a good strategy, definitely. Okay, so Luis Aparicio, shortstop, going to Dynamo. And that is going to close out your shortstops. And Frank and the Armada, you're going to be up next. You have right field closed out and third base closed out. But you can pick at every other position. The last pick was Aaron, which is at 138th overall. A fantastic pick. All right, so Ward, John Ward, shortstop, going to the Armada. And that is going to close you out on shortstops. And we head to Leviathan and Roger. You have center field and right field closed out. So you can pick at every other position. Bill Madlock. Yeah. Led the league in batting, 3 times, I think? Solid pick. Third baseman. And we're going to go over to Kurt and the Oracles. Kurt, you are closed out on shortstop and third base, but you could pick every other position. You are still looking for a right fielder. I had a feeling you were going to pick Minnie Minoso. Left field, could play some third base, great hitter. So that will close you out on left field. And John, you are next up with the Empires. You are closed out on center field and first base, but you can pick every other position. Pee Wee Reese now up on there. Ricky Henderson now on a pile. And Paul Molitor, infielder. He's under third base. I'm going to pop him at your third baseman, and that's going to close you out on third base. But he is a solid pick because he can play pretty much everywhere. So, good pick there. Ray, that's going to bring you up with the Aces. You are closed out on left field and center field. You're still looking for a catcher, so you got Bresnahan looking at you with his catcher's gear. You got some options here. Can't pick Ricky, though, because you are closed out on left field. I have a feeling who's going to be going next if you don't pick him. Maybe. Oh, that's who I thought was going to go next to Steve. And it looks like we're flipping that pile over now. As third base is closed out for you, Ray, and Steve is going to be your pick now, and Boggs is not going to be available. Let's see who comes up now. We're back over on the lesser side for third base. Actually, the greater side for third base. We're going down now. And you are not closed out anywhere. So this will start closing you out. You have 6 pitchers picked. And Bresnahan is going to the Blue Sox. At the catcher position, and like you said, that will close out your catchers. And now it's my pick. Man, if I did not close out my left fielders, I would have picked Ricky. I'm going to go with King Kelly because he can be a third catcher. Some of that strategy going into it, and I'm going to be coming back around soon anyway, so. And that's going to close out my outfielders by doing that. Gary, you have 2 picks now. Ichiro, man, really? I didn't even see him come up on the pile. I would have picked him as my leadoff hitter. All right. And Schoolboy Rowe. All right, so it's my pick again. I can't pick outfield. I'm going to go with Ray Dandridge. Close out my third baseman. So, Steve, you're up, sir. That will close out your right fielder, Steve. Enos Slaughter going to the Blue Sox. Ray, you're up with the Aces. You have third closed out, left closed out, center closed out. You have no catcher yet. Lefty Gomez going to the Aces. John, you are up, sir. You have closed out center field, third base, and first base. So you can still pick any of the other positions, and you have 4 pitchers picked so far. Pretty good names popping up now. Ricky closing out left field. You can't get much better than that. Who's your other left fielder? The other left fielder is Medwick, so you have a pretty solid platoon out in the left field. But that will close out your left fielders. Kurt, you are up with the Oracles. You have closed out short, third, and left. You need a right fielder. And you have 5 pitchers picked so far. Tony Oliva. That'll be your first right fielder. Going to the Oracles. And Roger Leviathan, you're up. It's closed out on third base, center field, and right field. You can pick every other position. It's going to be hard making these lineups. Which, by the way, if you guys have any input on the lineups for the teams you're picking, let me know. and definitely look at that. Joe McGinnity, pitcher. Some great early Giants teams going to the Leviathan. Frank and the Armada, you are up next. You have closed out shortstop, third base, right field. You have picked 4 pitchers so far. 158th pick overall. We're getting through this, guys. It's going pretty quick, I think. I would take a 7th inning stretch, but unfortunately I left my ukulele downstairs, Steve. But if we could break away and head to you, I'd do it. All right, so Randy Johnson going to the Armada. I'd say that's a solid pick for 158th overall. All right, George and the Dynamo, you are up. You have closed out shortstop and catcher. You're still looking for a first baseman. You've closed out left field, center field, and right field. So your entire outfield's closed out. Looking for some infielders. Ron Santo, third baseman, going to be closing out your third baseman overall. And a great defender, good pop, good hitter. All right, Matt is going to bring you with the 160th overall. You are closed out on first base and center field. You have 6 pitchers picked. Who is going to be the 160th pick overall for the Dragons? Definitely some familiar names up there. Tim Raines. Going to close out your left fielders. I love the Expos uniform. That's right up there with that White Sox uniform from before. Thank you, Frank. I'm having a fun time with this too. This is a lot of fun. Getting to look at these players, especially the older players that I don't know much about myself. All right, so Rain's going to the Dragons, and we are flipping back over. To the higher value sides. Some of these are staying. Third base is staying. Second base is staying. All right. So, Matt, you get the next pick now. 161st overall. Monty Irvin's showing up. So my daughter, she's 7 years old, and they're going over Jackie Robinson in her grade this week. And I have an early reader, and I've been reading with her about Jackie Robinson, and it's been a lot of fun. Vladimir Guerrero, right fielder. That is going to close out your right field spot. Matter of fact, that's going to close out your entire outfield, as Guerrero is going to go to the Dragons. George and a Dynamo, you're up next. You have shortstop closed out, third base closed out, your whole outfield closed out, and catcher closed out. Still looking for a first baseman. But yeah, reading about Jackie Robinson with her in that early reader book has been very fun. Bid McPhee, that's going to close out your second baseman. And that will leave you just needing first base as position players. Frank and the Armada, you're up next. Shortstop's closed out, third base closed out, right field closed out. Cy Williams, center field. That's going to close out your center fielders. And Roger Leviathan, you're up. Third base is closed out, center field closed out, and right field closed out. Ooh, Eric the Red showing up. Wow. Some of these players can't get picked because positions are closed out. That's crazy. Nor need more power. Mule Suttles. I mean, yeah. 40 home runs on a 162 game based average. It's got a good matrix there. So that will give you more power. That's for sure. Now close out your first baseman. Kurt, you are up with the Oracle. Sir, you are closed out on. And he's going to go with. Oh, Kurt, you're actually closed out on the left fielders. Oh, no, he's a center field. I'm sorry. For some reason, I thought he was a left fielder. That'll close you out on center field. And that is going to take us over to the Empire. And John, you are closed out on first, third, left, and center. So some good positions still available there. And then, of course, you got some pitchers there. Yeah, I had a feeling Tony Gwynn was going to go pretty quick. So Gwynn going to the Empires. You got Ricky and Gwynn on the same team. And that's going to close you out for right field. Ray, you're up next. You've closed out third, left, and center. You're still looking for a catcher. So no catchers, but you have everything else. Who are you thinking? Ray's feed froze up a little bit on him. I'm just going to see if he can come back in real quick, or I may pick for him. He is going to take Ewing. So Buck Ewing going to the Aces. And that'll be his first catcher. And that's going to go over now to Steve and the Blue Sox. Steve, you are closed out on catcher and right field, but you could pick pretty much anything here. Johnny Mize to close out first base. I like it. Here he is. Good defender. Good pop. Perfect fit for the Blue Sox, I feel like. And we're going to head over to my pick now. And I got some options here. I think I'm going to go with Wilson, little utility player. And good leadoff man with the 5 speed. So I'm going with Wilson at first. At first base. And Gary is all in on Maz. I had a feeling he would be. Locking you out of second base. And then Cobb in center. That's going to lock you out for all of your outfield. You say it's a mess, but I mean, you have good problems to have. All right, and then for me, I'm going to close out my catcher position with Johnny Bench. Oh yeah, no. If chemistry were a part of this game, yeah, you guys would have internal fights like this Bronx Zoo '78. So Blue Sox, you are up, Steve. You are closed out on catcher and right field, but everything else for position players. Oh, yep, sorry, Maz. Thank you, Roger. So yeah, Steve, you're got some pretty good options here. All right, Billy Herman to close out second base for the Blue Sox. Ray is still, I'm not sure if he's back on yet. He was rebooting. But I think I'm going to end up picking for him because he hasn't. Oh, there he is. Never mind. He's taking Messina. Welcome back, Ray. So Moose going. And that's going to bring back to the umpires and John. You have first base closed out, third base closed out. Your entire outfield's closed out. So you could take catcher, second base, shortstop, or a pitcher. Joe Cronin, shortstop. It's going to close out your shortstops. And Kurt, you're up now. You have closed out short, third, left, and center. You have right field available, catcher, first and second available, and then, of course, pitchers. Pedro. I know Steve's disappointed to see him go. Rough seeing Pedro go this far down. Some great statistics. And that is going to go back over to Roger and Leviathan. You are closed out on first, third, center, and right. Joe Mauer. I like that pick. Great defender. Great against right-handed pitchers. Who's your other catcher? Hart? I mean, yeah, you can definitely platoon the two of them. That's going to close out catchers for you, Roger. Frank, you're up with the Armada. You have closed out short and third, center and right. Piazza. He's going for catcher, and that's going to close out your catchers. George, you're up now with the Dynamo and the 179th pick overall. You still need a first baseman. Every other position is actually, you need to take 2 first basemen. Every other position is closed out except for pitcher. So, of course, you could take some pitchers if you wanted to. So, George Sissler going to be your first baseman. And Matt, with the 180th pick overall, you can still pick catcher, second or short and third, or a pitcher. Everything else is closed out. And then, of course, after this pick, whatever is available to flip over is going to flip over. Scott Rowland, third base, going to close out your third baseman. All right, we're flipping them over. This is going to go back to lower valued cards. Pretty sure second base, yep, second and third not getting flipped anymore. Jim Rice. All right, so Matt, you are up again. You can take catcher, second, short, or pitcher. Who were you hoping for? Oh, yeah. No, you're full. Bob Lemon, pitcher. All right, George Dynamo, you need a first baseman to close out first baseman or start loading up on pitchers. So George, who's going to be the 182nd pick overall, your 19th pick of the draft. Tex Houston. Good pick. All right. Frank, you're up next. You can get a first baseman, a second baseman, or a left fielder, and then, of course, some pitchers. Nellie Fox. Yep, the great Nellie Fox, some of the great White Sox teams. That is going to close out your second baseman. And Roger, excuse me, you're up next. You can pick second, short, left field, or pitchers. Jim Rice. That's going to be closing out your left field. And Kurt, for the Oracles, you can pick a catcher, first base, or second, or right field. And Lombardi is going to be going to the Oracles. That'll close out your catchers. And John with the Empires, you're up. You can pick a catcher or a second baseman or start loading up on pitchers. And Evers. We already had Tinker picked, so Evers is going to the Empire. And that's going to close out your second baseman. Ray, you're now up. You can pick a catcher, first, second, or short, or right field, or of course some pitchers. Mr. Murray. You just pick a couple of Orioles back to back. And Steve, you are up, sir. You can pick a first baseman, short, third, left, or center. And you still have some pitcher slots available as well. Shoeless Joe. And that's going to flip over our left fielders. And that's going to close you out on left field. And it's my pick now. Second, short, or pitchers. I think I'm going to go with, I don't really know. I'll go with Bobby Doerr. No, you know what? I'm going to go with Reese. Huey Reese. Gary, you're up next with the next two picks. And you can pick a short, a third, or pitchers. Eddie Matthews, good pick. That's going to close out your third baseman. And then the Wizard going to close out your shortstops. So you are down to just pitchers now, my friend. And that's going to leave me. See, now I wish I would have gotten Doerr because I would have rather have had Bancroft. Let's see. I guess I'll go with Doerr now. Doerr. So that's going to close out my second baseman. And Steve, you are up. Max Carey to close out your outfield. I like it. Ray, you are up. Darren Dalton going to the Aces. That's going to close out your catcher position. And John, with the Empires, you are up. You can close out your catchers. We'll start picking some pitchers. This is the 195th pick overall. George, I just saw your message. He is a switch hitter. I believe I did change that in the updated sets. Charlie Root is going to be going to the Empires. Starting pitcher. And Kurt, you are up with the Oracles. You can pick a first baseman, second baseman, or some pitchers. Ray, you can have a minimum of 8 pitchers. You can have more pitchers and less position players if you choose to. Andre Dawson is going to be going to the Oracles. That will close out your right fielders. Roger, you are up with the Leviathan. You can still pick a second base, a shortstop, and then pitchers. Stan Kovaleski going to Leviathan. Good player. All right, Frank, you're up. You can close out your first baseman or left field, or you can pick some pitchers. Vic Willis, I like that pick. Starting pitchers are getting pretty good, even on the lower valued side piles. And George, Dynamo, you are up next with 199th overall. You can pick a first baseman, or you can start picking more pitchers. After this one, the piles will flip back over. So I don't know if that's going to account for some strategy there. Eddie Sykot will be going to the Dynamos. He looks like a pitcher on the Dynamos. Is it Sykoti? I'm not sure. All right. Matt, with the 200th pick overall, who are you taking, sir? Looks like all the cards have kind of migrated a little bit. Seacott is pronunciation. Thank you. Gary Carter to close out your catchers. The kid. All right, and we're all flipping over. This is one of my favorite pieces of artwork for the game. Really love that one. I work with a great artist, kid in Indonesia. Does great work. Second base is staying up. Third base is staying up. Oh, left field is staying up. All right, so Matt, you get another pick. You closed out your catcher. You could pick a second baseman, a shortstop, or pitchers. You have 3 pitcher slots available. You could pick more pitchers if you wanted to, if you want to pick less position players. But you have to pick a minimum of 3. So Lou Boudreau is a shortstop, a very good shortstop. He is going to the Dragons. George, Dynamo, you are up next. You can pick a first baseman or pitchers. That's a pretty good first baseman there. Hilton Smith going to the Dynamos. Fantastic pick. Frank and the Armada, you're up next. You can pick a first baseman, a left fielder, or pitchers. Carl Hubble. Can't argue that pick. All right, Leviathan and Roger, you're up next. You could pick a second baseman, a shortstop, or pitchers. Yeah, that's a solid pick at 90 points. It's only because his defense and doesn't strike out a lot of. But that is a good pick there. Definitely a sleeper pick. All right, Kurt, you are up now, sir. You can pick a first baseman, a second baseman, or pitchers. Robin Roberts. I had a feeling your one of your favorite teams, the 50 Phillies, was going to drive you to pick up Roberts. That is a good pick there. And John with the Empires, you can pick a... All right, Campanella. I'm feeling you were waiting on him. So Campanella going to the Empires. Campy. That'll close out your catchers. You can only pick pitchers now. Ray, you're up with the Aces. All right, Ferguson Jenkins. So Steve, that's going to leave you. Maybe pick one. Curry. All right, Lefty Grove going to the Blue Sox. You're getting quite the rotation. Looks like I am down to just pitchers here. So I'm going to take Spawn. Gary, that's going to leave you. You can just take pitchers. So it looks like you're going to be, you're getting two pitchers, Smokey Joe Williams and Max Manning, a couple of great Negro League greats. So really it's just a matter of who's left for you that you're going to get. Looks like I'm getting the next pitcher. And that's going to be Rube Waddell. All right, Steve, you are up, sir. All right, Jack Chesbro going to the Blue Sox. that's going to leave you up. You can pick a second baseman, shortstop, Joe Sewell is going to be the shortstop you pick for the Aces. Good pick. I like that one. So that is going to close out your shortstops. John, you are up. Looks like you are getting a pitcher. So that's going to be Drysdale. Kurt, you are up, sir. You could pick a first base, second base, or a pitcher. Smoltz is going to the Oracles. Roger, you're up. You can get a second base, a shortstop, or a pitcher. Pesky shortstop is going to be going to Leviathan. Frank, you're up. You can get a pitcher, first base, or left fielder. Catfish Hunter going to the Armada. And George, you are up. You can get a first baseman or a pitcher. You have 3 picks left. This is round 8 of 10, closing out the 8th round. Holiday going to the Dynamo. All right, Matt. You can pick a pitcher or second baseman. And remember, it is going to flip after you make this pick. So Herb Pennick is going to the Dragons. And we're going to flip over what we can. Looks like Babe Ruth's pitcher card is not going to get picked, as the pitchers are not going to flip over anymore. Catcher will flip. First base is going to flip. Second base is not. Third base is not. Shortstop is. Left field not. Center field is. And right field is. All right, so looks like you can pick a second baseman or a pitcher. J.R. Richard, I like that pick. George, you can pick a first baseman or a pitcher. Y11 going to the Dynamo. Frank, you can get a first baseman, a left fielder, or of course another pitcher if you want. You already have the 8 required minimum. So Chance, first base, is going to go to the Armada. That'll close out your first baseman with 1 pick to go for you. Roger, Leviathan, you are up. You can get a second baseman or a pitcher. Well, we're all going to the Leviathan. Kurt, you are up, sir. You can get a first baseman, second baseman, or another pitcher. Kurt's going to go with Banks. Good pick. Could play a couple positions there. John, you are up with the Empire. You are a pitcher. So you're going to get Jim Palmer. Ray, you are second base or a pitcher. Doc, going to Ray. Steve, let's see. Home run Baker, third base. That'll close out your third baseman. I need to take a pitcher, so it's going to be Morris. Glad I took 2 pitchers in the first 2 picks for me. And well, Gary, you know you're getting 2 pitchers. You're going to get early win. And Don Sutton. I mean, not bad pitchers to be saddled with by any means. I'm going to get Jim Cox. I'm actually kind of happy with that. I like that. Steve. Where are you? Let's see. He closed out first base. Looks like you can still, yeah, you can take Bancroft as a shortstop. He's a good pick. I would have liked to have gotten him. And now I'll close you out. Ray, you can take a second baseman or a pitcher, it looks like. So Ray, what are you thinking? Denny McClain or Marty McManus? All right. Marty McManus it is. John, you are getting Denny McClain. All right, Kurt's putting in his input right now. I think. You can get a second baseman or a pitcher, it looks like. Kurt. All right, Pop Boyd. Roger, you can take a, looks like a second baseman or a pitcher as well. I don't think there's enough picks to get down to that Ruth card, Matt. Joe Gordon. All right. Frank, you're up. You can get a left fielder or a pitcher. So you got Monty Irvin or Red Ruffin. Monty Irvin going to the Armada. George, you can go first base or pitcher. So you got Ted Kluszewski or Red Ruffin. Hey, Paul, welcome to the very last two picks of the draft. I'm glad you could make it, though. Jimmy Fox, not there. I'm not sure where Fox is. He's in there somewhere. Oh. Taking Clue, all right. Were you waiting on Jimmy Fox? Is that where you're waiting on? And Matt, you are a second baseman or a pitcher. So Rhino or Red Ruffin. The last pick, 240th overall. Who's it going to be? All right, Ryan Sandberg. And that is going to do it. I think all these pitchers, if I make it into a second season, I plan on playing 18 games, like I said. One game away against each team and one game home against each team, and then a playoffs. And then if I make it to a second season, I'm thinking I'm going to do some of these guys as rookies going into season 2. But thank you, everybody, for joining me. Now, Jimmy Fox is in the set. He's definitely in there. I'm not sure. There he is. He's 86 point value. So he was turned on one of them. We also didn't see Pujols. We didn't see Frank Thomas. So there were quite a few that we didn't see. But like I said, I'll probably use them to come in as new rookies or something going into the second season. But thank you everybody for doing this draft. If you want to create the lineups, I'll shoot you over what the rosters are for the teams, and then you could, by all means, make a lineup. It is going to have a DH, and you could do a start and rotation. And I'll start playing the games and start having it on the Facebook group page for On Deck Baseball Community Group. But I had a really good time with this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys have anything else? Yeah, I saw your message just now. I will, like I said, John, I will send you over what the rosters are, unless you wrote them down. If you kept track of it with the draft, then by all means, you could send it to me over on Facebook. You could do a post in the community group if you want to do that. But yeah, you could shoot over anything you want to do. All right, so guys, I thank you. Thanks for joining me. I had a great time. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And stay tuned for what this league is going to bring. I think it's going to bring in a lot of action, a lot of offense. Hopefully these pitchers can keep up with these bats and these lineups. So you guys have a great night. Thanks for joining me.